Hello folks, meteorologist Jamie Kagol here, joined by meteorologist Dery, and we're going to take a deep dive into the forecast. We'll do the forecast so that you don't have to wait around. We were just talking about this. You don't have to wait around for 15 minutes, but if you really want to do more than scratch the surface, well, you got the two guys that'll do that for you too. So
we'll talk weather or whatever for for a whole hour if we have to. But yeah, it was kind of a busy morning. We started off with some rowdy thunderstorms late last night when a lot of folks were going to sleep across western Minnesota, and then all that activity basically fizzled in a matter of like 6 hours or so, right as it was moving into the Twin Cities metro. We saw very little rainfall here. Western Minnesota got a healthy dumping of rain.
Yeah, you could just watch the colors on the radar just disappear. The reds were just slowly disappearing, the oranges, and pretty soon you're just left with showers as it got over here. But I've always said the best way to get the rain for your plants, for your yard, is just a good steady shower.
That's right. Yeah, even though we got not a lot, at least all of it went into the soil instead of running off, which is good news, at least for us. We do have additional thunderstorms in the forecast later today. We do have that weather impact alert that continues through the rest of this afternoon and evening. We saw the morning showers. That's in our rearview mirror. Now our attention focuses on the afternoon and evening hours where additional thunderstorms are forecast to develop. Now, the confidence we have in storms around the Twin Cities, not super high. The emphasis is like central and western Minnesota. I wouldn't cancel plans outright, but if you do have any outdoor events planned, especially after 5, 6 o'clock this evening, you want to make sure you have a plan B. And right now, hail appears to be the greatest threat. This is that rainfall we saw this morning. Notice 0.01 inches. Yeah. 1/100th of an inch of rain, barely measurable at MSP, but those areas in blue, that's where a half an inch or better of rain fell. And it fell right over an area that certainly needs it. Jamie, you talked about this yesterday, how the western half of the state has kind of seen a bit of a rainfall deficit, at least so far this year.
Yeah, throughout the year, when you start January 1st, take it right into today, June 4th, the western half of our region, the western half of Minnesota, really is in that 75 to maybe 90% of normal precip. But what's astounding is you move towards eastern Minnesota and then continue further and further to the east in Wisconsin, and the numbers just climb. 100% plus for all of Wisconsin. In fact, some areas, most of it was about 125% of normal to 180% of normal.
Wow.
So it's just a stark contrast from west to east across the region. When you take a look at just our calendar year so far, and you're about halfway through the year, it's rather remarkable, the difference there. But it's also been helping us hold off a lot of that really nasty drought condition that, again, this time of year we're always dreading the approach of any sort of drought conditions out there. Right now it looked like most of our region, and the updated data comes out today, was abnormally dry with pockets of there being some moderate to even severe drought. But again, so far so good. And then when you see a radar like this, it's just great to see that beneficial rain, especially in western Minnesota.
It was a major rainfall producer out west. And you can see in a matter of like 6 to 8 hours, that heavy thunderstorm turned into a sprinkle. And there's a couple reasons for that. The main one being it just outran its instability axis, but it's moving into some drier air too. We have dew points in the 40s across Wisconsin. From the Twin Cities westward, it's a bit on the muggier side with dew points in the lower 60s. So those storms basically fizzled. Couple of light showers around the region this mid to late morning, but otherwise things are pretty quiet. Now we do expect storms to redevelop this afternoon, and the emphasis is again that central and western Minnesota. We have a slight risk for severe weather there, which is a 2 out of 5 on the severity scale. We could see some hailers out here, maybe some locally strong wind. And the reason that yellow shaded area is there is that's where the instability is forecast to be the highest. We always look at several ingredients necessary to produce severe weather, and one of those is an unstable environment, right? And that's where it's going to be elevated across western half of Minnesota. Wilmer, down towards Montevideo, Marshall, Appleton, Ortonville, those areas have the best chance of seeing severe weather. Areas in green, that's a marginal risk for severe weather, where we still could see some storms, but the severe risk is a little bit lower. But this is the forecast for today. We're going to see more clouds and sunshine. Temps just barely grazing near 80 degrees, and it looks like this might be the coolest it gets for a while, because you look at your 7-day forecast, boy, we've got some summertime heat in store. Let's talk short-term scattered activity later this afternoon and evening. Again, Twin Cities metro, Probably still going to see some thunder near 6, 7 o'clock this evening and beyond. Similar to what we saw last night, any strong storms that develop will fade overnight. We'll probably start off Friday morning dry before some afternoon storms develop. The emphasis with that potential for severe weather for Friday is the southern part of the state. Saturday, just gorgeous. It looks like a beautiful day to be outside, very summer-like. Isolated storms are creeping back into the forecast by Sunday afternoon and evening. Better chance for rain when this little trough moves through on Monday. But look at those temperatures for next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, upper 80s to near 90 degrees. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid and likely the warmest temperatures we've seen so far this season. Which, Jamie, by the way, Wednesday we have a forecast of 90. I just looked in the history of records at MSP. The average first 90-degree day is June 9th. That's next Tuesday. So
okay.
It's pretty, that's right on par for average if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to happen all that often for us. But when you take a look at those overnight lows as well, there's a good indicator of where your dew points are going to end up, or at least where they're trending. And you see we've had overnight lows, upper 50s, low 60s as of recently with some really comfortable conditions. And take a look at that when you go from a low 60 Saturday morning to a 70 Wednesday. And we had dew points yesterday, I think when I was doing the 4 o'clock, I think dew point was 44 degrees.
Wow.
So we're talking a good 15-degree climb-ish in dew points overnight. And that takes you from that spring feel, again, yesterday I thought felt absolutely incredible outside, to now you step outside and you can feel the stuffiness. I wouldn't say today, I wouldn't use words like oppressive or muggy or tropical, but I think next Tuesday, Wednesday, is definitely those words are going to come to mind.
Right.
With dew points hitting pretty close to 70, and that is just, it's just thick air. Air you can wear is what we called it in Florida.
And hair you can't wear.
Yeah.
So for those wondering, dew point it's just a measure of how much moisture is in the air. So the higher the dew point, the higher the moisture concentration. Meteorologists tend to steer away from relative humidity. We like dew point better because it's an actual number. Relative humidity is relative to temperature. So when we have high relative humidity, it doesn't always mean it's humid. It just means you're closer to saturation.
Yeah, with that, and again, you'll see your relative humidity climb during the day and then drop at night. And you might be outside thinking, well, gosh, today didn't feel humid, but the relative humidity was a bit higher. And I like dew point because you can also use it in the wintertime when you talk about dew points and clear skies. It's a great indicator looking ahead to how low those temperatures get.
Right.
But it's also, it works well with that comfort scale. We talk about the comfort scale. 40s for dew points, very, very comfortable. 50s, you notice a little bit out there, but you're not busting out in a sweat necessarily.
That's like
too bad.
the last couple of days, right?
Yeah. 60s and 70s, you're just working your way up into the dog days of summer. So I think it works and translates very well to just anybody reading a forecast and they can see the dew points. It's a real easy indicator of just how comfortable or uncomfortable the weather's going to be.
Now, you used to live down in Florida, right? And you had to deal with that tropical humidity year-round, especially in the summertime. For those who have not lived it, what was it like walking outside on, say, your typical average day?
I jokingly say that you'd go check the mail and you'd come back inside and you'd have to take a shower. You just, it's really not that, I'm not exaggerating really, because you'd walk outside and you just kind of feel the beads of sweat all of a sudden running down your back. And you're like, I just left this cool, comfortable house with the AC running and now I feel like, I got to go shower and change clothes.
That's wild.
And you can't get away from it at night. It's still going to feel muggy at night. It still could be 80 degrees, 70 degrees, but that mugginess doesn't go away simply because the sun has gone down.
So you think of like people in Florida like, oh my gosh, the winters, how can you live like that in Florida? Well, I feel the same way about living in Florida during the summertime. That is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, spend a year anywhere else in the country and you'll just see how relative and how subjective weather can be. People, when I've worked in some very warm climates, people looked at me and said, you're from Minnesota now. Does your blood just stop moving when it's 20 below? And I said, well, no, we have furnaces and we have very nice winter jackets. And
I would prefer to see, 20 below, as long as the wind is light. If it's if it's like dead calm wind, I would prefer 20 below to 100 degree heat any day. And even 70-degree dew points, I would prefer the cold over 70-degree dew points.
I would absolutely agree with that, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the dry heat of Arizona was much more tolerable.
Yes.
But you'd get to a point where you're like, okay, it's just hot. But at least when the sun went down, if you were out and you were, out on the patio or something, or taking in a dinner, and then the sun had gone down, very, very nice.
Tolerable. Yeah.
It's still warm, but you're not breaking out in that sweat.
Right, because the dew point is lower. You don't have as much moisture in the air, so the temperature is free to fluctuate a lot faster than if it was more muggy outside.
Yeah. It's a dry heat.
It's a dry heat. So for those who are just joining us, we do have to talk a little bit about some severe weather potential later this afternoon. We have a weather impact alert in effect for the rest of the day today. So we had some morning showers. That's in our rearview mirror. We're done with that. Now our focus turns towards the afternoon and evening hours for the potential for some scattered afternoon and evening storms. The main threat, hail, but we could certainly see some strong wind gusts with these as well. The emphasis, central and western Minnesota right now. You can see it's a lot more muggy out there. This is, speaking of dew point, drier air to the east. We've got more moisture further west. Wilmer peaking out with dew points in the mid-60s. So feeling a bit on the more humid side for western Minnesota. And this is that dew point trend that we were talking about. So we've been blessed so far this June with dew points mainly in the 50s or even less. Notice as we get into next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, edging closer to tropical levels of moisture. So this will be our first real bout of true summer heat and humidity. That's early next week. And of course, that's going to come with some thunderstorm chances as well.
Yeah, you're adding the ingredients together, and when you certainly add the humidity, you add the fuel. So it's your threshold to set things off is dropping with that. The fuel's there. You just got to kick it off. Throw a spark on it and get things going.
Looks like our forecast model here isn't updating right now, but it does look like central western Minnesota, best chance of seeing those storms. Here's that severe weather outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. Basically from St. Cloud, further west and southwest towards Paynesville, Wilmer, Marshall, maybe the Grand Falls area up towards Appleton, Ortonville, those areas have the best chance of seeing severe weather because that's where we expect the most unstable environment to persist. And we still have that marginal risk for severe weather in green. It's still a chance at a few sporadic severe storms, borderline severe, but it's less of a chance. So this is for this afternoon. We get into tomorrow, and that chance for severe weather drifts a little further south. It's just wherever this frontal boundary is going to be. Twin Cities still under a marginal risk for severe weather. I still think we are going to see some scattered thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, but the confidence with exactly where and when these pop, it's pretty low, Jamie, just because it's all conditional. It's conditional on what happens today, and what happens today hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we get these thunderstorms to roll through this afternoon, and it did look like it'd be, latest models were showing, Minnesota River Valley and then pushing towards St. Cloud and the Twin Cities, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And again, I think for the Twin Cities, we'll probably see, that pea-size hail, maybe marble-size hail. I think that's more common than we're going to find the 1-inch hail that sets off those warnings.
Right.
But again, Marshall, Ortonville, even Wilmer could see that happen as well. And then it looked like tomorrow, southeast Minnesota, things would pop down there, and we're on the outer edges of it. But it certainly looked like there would even be some isolated pockets of rain up towards the Brainerd area, even Duluth. And you get these boundaries. These thunderstorms leave these boundaries and they linger, and they can linger into the next day, and that can completely change your forecast, which is why we always stress, stay tuned to the forecast, especially in a scenario like this. Those boundaries hang out for a little bit, and your Friday looks a little different.
Do you think those lakes are warming up yet? Look at Saturday. What a great lake day that's going to be. So, mid-80s, sunshine. It looks dry throughout. But Sunday, models are creeping some rain back into the forecast area. So just keep in mind that's a trend we might see bump upwards. We have a mostly dry weekend, but Sunday, especially southern Minnesota, some storms start to creep upwards. But otherwise, you can't beat this kind of weekend.
Yeah.
Especially Saturday. We got a lot of grad parties outside, and folks looking for a nice day, and it just so happens that the nicest weather arrives on the weekend with that chance for storms arriving next week as well.
Yeah.
How about that? How do you feel about the heat and humidity next week? You got 20 seconds.
I'd really like it to hold off a little bit longer, but there's a lot of people out there probably praying for summer to get here, because May started out, we're looking at it was looking like It's May.
Now it's
Heat
hot.
things up.
Heat and humidity here for the
It's here.
long haul. Enjoy the rest of the day today. We'll be back shortly with more news and weather.